I've just spent a rather soggy morning. I've spent the afternoon riding on the Ducati Scrambler Nightshift, the Desert X Rally. It was a lovely morning in spite of the rain riding this bike, because it's such a lovely thing. The Ducati Scrambler story started in 2015 and it had a significant upgrade last year in 2023. It's now a 3-model lineup. You get the Icon, the Nightshift, which is this one, and the full throttle. And they made a few changes when they revamped it last year. Previous iterations had the shock on the side of the bike. The shock's now moved into the center of the swing arm. There's a huge electronic upgrade for 2023. So you've got traction control, you've got different riding modes you can put in that weren't there previously. You've got lean sensitive ABS. So there's lots of new safety gadgets. And there's a few other changes around, but the most important thing that they kept was the engine. So we've still got the air-cooled engine, which first sort of, if you look at the old Panther engines from the late 80s, still looks very similar. The Super Sports, the Monsters from the early 90s, it's still that classic Ducati L-twin Desmo engine. And I'm so glad that that still exists in all the Euro rules that we have now. And that's the sort of the heart of this bike, really. And riding it this morning, it was just such fun to use that engine. You've got about 70 odd horsepower. It weighs about 190 kilos. So you get to use a lot more of a bike than if you had huge power figures. And the motor is just charming. It's your friend. It sounds wonderful out on the lanes. And yeah, we had a great ride in spite of the rain. I've got a slightly soggy arse from the rain coming around the back, like riding a bike as a kid without a mudguard. And in truth, I'm probably a little bit big for this bike, but there is a high seat in the accessories catalogue, which would probably be the first thing I'd put on it. The Nightshift is almost the iteration that Ducati have made where they've gone into their own configurator and thrown everything at it. So you've got the spoked wheels, you've got this beautiful satin blue colour. It's so nice to have a navy blue bike, not black all the time. All the details, the quality of it feels beautiful. But we had a really nice ride. We were out with a bunch of other models from the Ducati range, and it was really good fun to work this a little bit harder to keep up with everybody else. And as I say, the engine is the peach of this bike, and the fact that that's the only air-cooled model still in Ducati's lineup, and long may it continue. So with the 2023 revamp, the 3-model lineup is now missing a more Scrambler-based element, so there's no more Desert Sled. And this afternoon, I'm going to be riding the Desert X, which is kind of, in the Ducati lineup, the next in the line if you wanted to go a little bit more off-road. I'm going to be riding the rally version. But yeah, kind of almost to highlight the gap between the Scrambler and the Desert X, which probably needs plugging by Ducati at some point. Maybe another Desert Sled style thing using the old air-cooled engine would be lovely. But yeah, for now, the Scrambler range of the 3 bikes is wonderful. They're really user-friendly. Essentially, you've got a real essence Ducati bike, air-cooled, L-twin, a lot of fun. I'm going to ride the Desert X this afternoon and I'll report back on that. So after a morning on the Scrambler Nightshift, I've spent the afternoon on the Desert X Rally. The roads dried out a bit, the sun even came out for a little while, and I had a hell of an afternoon. This is a magnificent bike. So compared to the standard Desert X, there's a lot of very impressive componentry on this thing. The Kayaba forks, the Olin steering damper, the shock in there. There's a carbon fiber bash guard down here. It's got lightweight wheels. It's got a bunch more electronics and riding modes in it, but what a bike. Obviously, we were all on road today, slightly greasy, wet roads, but I know this bike is designed to take on any terrain in the world, but as a road bike, oh my goodness, it is wonderful. We had such a good ride. This fits me perfectly. I think all motorcycles should be made this size. I'm lofty, I'm 6'4", I'm mainly legs, and I'm quite heavy, so I don't often work with a lot of bikes, but this one feels, yeah, really good. I'm going to stop talking about this bike now, and I'm going to wheel in the other one, and we're going to talk a bit about both to wrap it all up. So, they're an odd pair, but the reason I wanted to ride these two back to back today, obviously, is because the new Scrambler and the changes they've made to it, I was really keen to ride it. And as I said, I love that old air-cooled engine. But I think it's really interesting to go back to the original concept of the Desert X, which was originally built on the 1100 Scrambler. It came out at EICMA, I believe, 2018, 2019, I'll double check that. But it was originally part of the Scrambler family. And I guess with the Scrambler subgenre, Ducati have had a lot of fun. And the original concept for the Desert X enabled them to sort of spread their wings a bit. And thankfully, everybody loved it, which forced them into making it. And along the way, it moved out of the Scrambler lineup and into the main Ducati family. And often when a bike moves from concept to reality, you lose a lot of the things along the way that made it what it was. But if anything, the Desert X got even better as it graduated from the concept to the real bike. And it's just interesting that the Scrambler lineup spawned this bike. And like we said earlier in the video of the Nightshift, there's a bit of a gap now between these two. And even though Scrambler implies dirt, the Scrambler lineup as it is currently are road-based bikes. This is 17s front and rear. And the thing that didn't come back in the new generation was the Desert Sled. And yeah, it'd be really interesting to see if they do something along those lines in the next year, couple of years or so. But yeah, I love the retro influences and the styling cues that made it into this bike that are sort of super heritage inspired. The twin headlights to give that Kujiva Elephant Dakar feel to this bike. All of those fun design cues that worked their way in came initially from the Scrambler lineup. So it's nice to put them side by side and had great fun riding these things today. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please do check out the other content. And if you want to see more of Ducati's Scrambler, they are joining us at the show this year. The 24th, 25th, 26th of May, they'll be bringing the Scrambler lineup and a few surprises maybe. So come down and see them and everything else we've got going on. Thanks for watching. Just tripped over the side, Sam. I tell you what. Let's do that again.